The whole purpose of the skill of dialogue is coming to understand another person's opinions. And so, if we can, with again, genuine curiosity, not with the desire to judge as wrong once we hear them, but if we ask people who have a different opinion from us, gosh, that's really different than how I have seen this situation. Tell me more about what caused you to conclude what you're thinking, so that we take the approach of learning from the person. It isn't to try to change their opinion necessarily or to change our own opinion, but to understand each other and where we're coming from.
In this conversation, your host, Mark, delves deep into the realm of effective communication and relationship building with Meredith Bell, a distinguished author, speaker, and publisher. Meredith brings a wealth of wisdom as she highlights the pivotal role of genuine listening in both professional and personal interactions. Emphasizing the essence of understanding and learning from others, she dismantles the misconception of passive listening and advocates for active engagement, empathy, and embracing diverse perspectives. Together, Mark and Meredith explore the transformative power of feedback in personal growth and communication enhancement. They uncover the importance of fostering an environment of openness to feedback, encouraging individuals to embrace critique as a catalyst for self-improvement. The discussion extends to the significance of consistent practice and peer coaching in honing communication skills, with Meredith shedding light on the profound impact of trust and shared values in fostering enduring relationships, whether in business collaborations or personal connections. Tune in as Mark and Meredith unravel the secrets behind effective communication, offering invaluable insights that transcend professional spheres and resonate deeply within our personal lives. Enjoy the episode.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Hero of the Hour podcast. I am proud to have today with us Meredith Bell. She's an author, she's a speaker, she's a publisher of an assessment and a development tool. I just want to get the name of both of your books correct: Connect with Your Team and Peer Coaching Made Simple. Before I start, Meredith, the interesting thing I thought is in this Me Too movement that's there, we for 30 years we call our strategy a love 'em up strategy. We want to love up our clients, which has become a little less politically correct, but it's not in a sexual way. It's in an appropriate, caring, loving way. And what stands out to me is that you've been doing that for 30 years as well. The word love is in your vernacular and how you treat people. I'd love to start with that because it's so rare today.
Well, it's one of those things that I have to say, thinking about your theme of your podcast and heroes, my parents were truly my heroes. And one of the things they did for us is they raised us in an environment of love. They did the way that we were treated. And so that's just been a part of who I am over all these years. And caring about other people, I have seen to be just an amazing business approach as well. I don't call it a strategy because it's a way of being. It's not something that you are doing as a tactic to accomplish something. And people sense that when you have conversations with them and they sense that you really care. That's what relationships are built on. I'm proud that many of our clients have worked with us for more than 20 years. And that's not an accident. It's because of the experience they have in interacting with us, and they feel that we care. We've gotten to know their kids, grandkids over the years, and that kind of bond, to me, is what life and business is really all about.
It is interesting. There's a lot of people that have programs that go for 6 months or 2 years or 3 years or something like that. You obviously have programs that are going for decades. What keeps them coming back? What allows people to continue to write that check and be excited to show up to work with you every day?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there are a couple of things. One is they sense our honesty initially in, the sales process, because we're a product company. And so they learn how our products can be a fit for them. And they, I think, just sense that genuine caring up front. And of course, they're looking for a quality product. So it's a combination of the two. And then the experience they have once they've started using it, because we have a 360 feedback tool, for example. And so companies have used that over time with a lot of different leaders and employees in their organizations. And so the experience they have when they call for support to, learn more about how to use the product well is also very positive. And so that combination of having and it's very customizable. So having a tool that they can use for different applications within their businesses, and then having the support and the relationship, that I think that combination of quality product with what we think of as an exceptional experience keeps them coming to us.
I think you and your firm are well known for your assessment and your development tools. You mentioned products. Why don't you explain to people watching this what how that came about and what that product and development tool is?
Oh, well, I've been working, by the way, with my two business partners for 32 years now. So we are long-term relationship people just among the owners. And originally, Denny, one of my partners, and I were consultants ourselves. And we, in the early 90s, were looking for a 360 feedback tool. And for those of your listeners that may not be familiar with that, it's an automated way of sending out a survey about a specific individual's performance, as opposed to a general survey about the company. And so you get feedback from your manager, or if it's a CEO, your board of directors, perhaps your peers and direct reports. And the process is automated in that the questionnaires get sent out, the feedback comes in, and a report gets generated that helps the person receiving that feedback understand where their strengths are that people appreciate and want more of, but also what are some things that you're doing that are getting in the way of their performing at the highest levels. And so when they get that information, then they're able to make decisions about making improvements, because we all have blind spots. And so this is a process for helping people become more aware of those blind spots and make choices for making changes that will have a positive impact on the people they're working with. So that's one of them. The other is development. It's an online tool to help people work on their communication skills, because that's the number one issue in every workplace, is how people interact with each other. And many people leave companies because of their direct manager and the issues they have with that person. So learning how to get along well with others is key. So this program helps people learn how to not just learn what those skills are, but to practice them on the job and work with a peer coaching partner for accountability and support.
A lot of people refer to communication skills as soft skills. You refer to them as power skills.
Well, that's right, because there's nothing soft about them. They're actually, they're the core of how we connect with another person. And so I think, and also what makes them hard initially to change is that when we come into the workplace, we're not blank slates when it comes to our communication behaviors. We have our established ways of listening, of giving feedback or not. And so we have to rewire our brains for those new behaviors. And that takes work. It's not like learning a brand new skill from scratch. It's overriding the old pattern so we adopt a new one that's more effective. And they're power skills because, especially with listening, which I think is the most important one, very few people do it well. And so when you can learn to be a really effective listener, you have an amazing power in your ability to understand another person and then be able to influence them in a positive way. And I'm not talking about manipulation there. I'm talking about understanding their needs, their wants, what's important to them, and being able to respond in a way that lets them know you got their message and you really understand what they're trying to communicate.
In your book, you talk about the top 10 listening skills or the top 10 communication skills. I think everybody who's watching this thinking, I don't think there's anybody who's either an employee who has a direct supervisor or supervising somebody doesn't say, "Oh, I don't want to be a better communicator." Everybody wants to do that. They just don't know how. So give us a, I'd be happy if you went through all 10, but I'd love you to cherry pick at least your favorite two or three, and help
Sure.
people to really get some kind of hands on of what that would look, what that would look like.
Mhm. Well, like I said, number one is listening. And the key with listening is not just waiting for your turn to talk, which is what most of us do. We hear somebody saying something and then we want to respond. Either we want to give advice or want to fix their problem, or we want to show them why we're right and they're wrong. So being able to listen from a place of curiosity where I can learn from this person, it makes such a difference in how we come to the conversation. If we are open and willing to see this person as a teacher to us, where I can learn from them and learn what's important to them and connect with them and be able to empathize with them. We hear that word a lot these days. It's really important to not just hear what they're saying, but to sense what they're feeling and be able to reflect that back in the way we listen. So if you came to me and you were describing a situation, an empathetic response might be, "Gosh, Mark, it sounds like you're feeling really frustrated about this. Tell me more about that." It gives the other person the opportunity to respond and say, "Yeah, I really am frustrated," or no, I'm more disappointed, or I'm hurt," or they can clarify for you. So a really good listener is very involved in the conversation there, but they're not necessarily talking a lot. It takes a lot of energy to really listen and hear and then dive deeper with the person. Because the more you're able to do that, the more they leave the conversation feeling like this person gets me. And there are so few people that really take the time to do that, that you stand out.
Do you have any advice for people that have been supervising people, sometimes not for weeks or months, but years or even decades? And what tell us what that it's never is. I'm assuming you're going to say it's never too late, but is it ever too late?
No, it isn't. It isn't, because we can all learn. And I think the key thing when you are making a commitment to change a behavior is to be honest with the people on your team and simply let them know, I want to work on being a better listener. And maybe in a meeting, making sure I call on everyone as an example to give everyone a chance to speak up. So I need your help with that. People are so much more willing to jump in and support you if you're honest and share with them, here's what I'm willing to do, or here's what I'm wanting to do, as opposed to trying to hide, an area that we aren't as strong in. And people know, they respect you so much more if you're open with them. And I think too often leaders, especially those that have been in positions for a long time, are hesitant to speak up and let their guard down, thinking they'll lose respect of people. But in fact, people respect you more because guess what? They already know these areas that they wish you would, make changes. And so another key skill that I think rises up near the top is that whole area of feedback, being willing to ask people for feedback. And the simple question, what's one thing I could do that would make your experience working with me better? One
Wait,
simple,
say that again. That's a very say that question. That's a very powerful question. Say that one more time.
yeah. What's one thing I could do differently that would make your experience working with me better?
Well, that is powerful. Um, I would assume that if you watch this, there's almost nobody would say, "Oh no, we over communicate. We don't need any help here. Not my organization need any help there." But people will start it, but why does it not stick, or what do they need to do? What would cause them, once they become aware of this issue, what causes it not to take in the company, or really
Ah,
to take hold?
that's such an excellent question, Mark. And the answer is not practicing it. Because if for behaviors to actually become automatic for us, there is actually a physical wiring that happens in the brain. And the only way that wiring happens is by repeating it over and over again, whether it's a basketball player or a musician or a leader in a company wanting to improve communication skills. The way to get better is to practice it and then to ask for feedback. One of my favorite books, business books, is Marshall Goldsmith's book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And one of the things he emphasizes there is asking people, how am I doing? So if you've identified this one thing you really want to improve, then going back to people and asking them, have you noticed any difference? I've really been working on this. Have you seen any difference? So, what you're doing with that question is number one, you're communicating to them, your input mattered to me, and I'm working to do something about it. And also, it reminds them because everybody's busy with their own lives, their own work, and they may or not be noticing that you're doing this. So, when you bring it to their attention, you're helping them realize, oh, yeah, you have gotten better at whatever it is that you're working at. But I think practice and repetition is the key, and then additional feedback along the way. And the key with feedback, Mark, is being open and gracious and thanking people for it. Because if you react defensively, justifying, rationalizing, explaining why you did something, what you're doing there is shutting down the communication because somebody's not going to come back to you and highlight another area if they feel like you're not interested in hearing it. And in fact, you get defensive and you shut them down. That's a quick way to keep your blind spots in place.
That makes so much sense to me. The challenge, Meredith, always is it's time, attention, and sometimes money. So it's sometimes the biggest cost isn't the check; it's the amount of time it takes. Um, how can a company who said, "Hey, I think we could communicate a little bit better," how can they get involved in this type of a process and do it in an economical way with both time and attention and money?
Mhm. Well, one thing is simply get resources like our books, Connect with Your Team and Peer Coaching Made Simple, and have people work in peer coaching partnerships as they work on their communication skills because everyone needs coaching. But in most cases, a company can't bring in a coach for every person in the company. They might do it for executives or other senior leaders, but you don't see them hiring a coach for every person. But coaching skills, some of you don't need to be certified. It's not complicated to care about another person's success and be willing to listen and ask questions and hold people accountable for things they committed to. So that's one way to do it in a very economical way. It helps to have an internal person who's going to serve as the facilitator to organize these peer coaching partnerships and get the process going. And we've got a lot of resources for that. We also have an online program that includes videos for these various skills. So that's another approach that still uses the books and peer coaching. But the idea is making a commitment that these are the things that are important to us. And we're going to have people invest time. And the beauty is, it doesn't take a lot of time to meet with another person on a weekly or biweekly basis to check in and say how you're doing and what you've done. The key is practice and applying the skill on the job. And by the way, every one of these communication skills can be used at home as well. So you have opportunities to practice in every aspect of your life, becoming a better listener, getting more feedback, asking questions. showing more curiosity.
You have, after 32 years together, do you have any stories you'd love to share, or any examples of something where people can picture, what that
Yeah,
could look like in their company?
I'll tell you, the three of us are so different. Over the years, we've come to really genuinely appreciate, value, and really highlight each other's strengths. But, it hasn't always been smooth sailing either, because we've had, either economic issues going on in the larger, uh, business environment, or just personal things that one of us has had to deal with. But I'll give you an example that I think would really, I think, applicable to every one of your listeners. It's a skill, it's related to the skill of listening, and in particular, interrupting, because we've had issues with interrupting each other. And we finally came up with a way to really support each other in a way that holds it up without putting the person down. And so, as you can imagine, when you're having a brainstorming session, this is when we find that we tend to interrupt each other the most, because one person says something to bring up an idea and the other one thinks of something to build on it, or an alternative. So you get this energy building and you want to jump in and say what you want to say. So there's an easy way, especially if you're doing Zoom meetings and you're not in person, is simply saying, "I wasn't done yet. Please let me finish." That simple statement, said without our sarcastic tone, by the way,
Yes.
that makes a big difference. Just is like it holds up that stop sign to the person and goes, "Oh, you're right. Sorry." So we don't have to get our egos caught up in feeling offended that the person jumped in, but assume a positive intent that they simply wanted to contribute and forgot to let me finish. So it's that kind of thing where you can call it to the attention of other people without it being a big deal, without it causing issues, but simply holding it up and saying, um, you know, whatever version of "I wasn't done yet, please let me finish" will get across to the other person.
You could see how that could go off the rails, if it was in a sarcastic tone, or if you're from New York, it may not be quite as polite, as it is in the South. What do you think the key to,
No,
you know
the key
you
thing
know you know
there.
I was going to say, what do you think the key to a long partnership is? Meaning, half the marriages in this country, uh, you know, are end in divorce. I think 65% I've heard of second marriages end in divorce. Partnerships, I see partnerships in my 39 years with folks all over in all different industries, and most of them have not stood the test of time. Why
Mhm.
do you think your partnership has stood the test of time?
Thank you. I love that question. A key is shared values. And I think that's worth taking time to explore. What is it we each stand for? And are we congruent? So this whole idea of integrity, honesty, fairness, taking a long-term view to relationships, not a short-term quick fix, to make a sale that could backfire on us. There is a lot that needs to be discussed in advance of forming either the marriage or the business partnership. And I think those core values being shared are just so important, because it leads to the other element that I think is critical, and that's trust. If I trust you, then if you confront me on something, I'm not threatened by it, because the underlying sense that you care deeply about me, our relationship, our business, I understand that that's underneath whatever it is you're bringing to me. I think where businesses get into trouble is where we feel we have to be right, and somehow make the other person wrong because one of us has to be right, as opposed to being curious, exploring the thinking behind the other person's position so we can learn from it and come up with a decision, a direction that really meets all of our needs. I think the whole trust I don't think you can underestimate how important that is, because if I have that faith in you and believe that you have my best interests at heart, our company's best interest, then I'm going to be more willing to listen and be open and honest with you. If I don't have that sense of trust, I might withhold my opinion and do something to sabotage the situation. So I think those are the key elements. And you know what else, Mark? It just hit me. You need to really genuinely like the other people. That just enjoying being in their company, because that's a key part, I think, of a long-term relationship. Do I want to spend a lot of time with this person? Do I enjoy who they are? And so they don't have to be exactly like me. In fact, Paula and Denny and I are really different. Over time, we've come to appreciate each other's differences and not feel threatened by them. I can remember in the early years when Denny would proofread, he's not the proofreader, he would edit because he's got a PhD in English. I would be intimidated sometimes by what he would say, and I'd be threatened by it. And I came to realize he's only trying to make it better. So getting my ego out of the way was a big learning for me and a big growth opportunity for me. And I think that's something that can get in the way of many of us. We take personally what somebody is trying to tell us instead of being objective about it.
Those marriages of convenience also never reach their full potential because it's that that it's hard. It's hard to make things work perfectly when there's friction within the relationships.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
you
And
never.
I'll give you a quick example. My husband and I have been married now for 41 years, and
Congratulations.
we're really different too, because he's a mechanical engineer. He's always been fascinated by how things work. I'm more fascinated by the people side. So it's been an interesting learning to appreciate and value all of the ways that he looks at the details of things that I would overlook. And over the years, coming to appreciate the value of doing that. And instead of being annoyed by it, I think this is what gets into issues with people is our thoughts, how we think about another person and what they do or don't do, if it's different from how we would do it. Instead of judging them, looking at what can I appreciate about this person, that because they are different from me, they bring different strengths to the relationship. And I think that's what's helped us work over the years is we've gained appreciation for these differences and how to use them to make our relationship stronger.
It sounds like you could be a marriage counselor too, not just a. It's useful and it's useful in every part of your life. So I understand we'd spoken earlier. You the your tell us a little bit about your love affair with Virginia Tech.
Oh, well, I did get my undergraduate and master's degree at Virginia Tech in education. I was a classroom teacher for a number of years and realized, oh, and then I moved into uh, school board office administration in the Blacksburg area of Virginia Tech. And I realized, Mark, that just because you have a degree in something and it's what you thought you always wanted to do, it can, once you get into it, you can figure out, oops, this isn't really what I wanted. So that willingness to be open and change, I ended up leaving education um, because I didn't do politics or bureaucracy very well, and went out on my own and have enjoyed that journey as an entrepreneur for many years. Just
You see, without getting involved of the political opinion, whether it's right. You see so many divisive issues. You see right now as we're filming this, you see the war going on in between Israel and Hamas. You see issues from abortion to immigration rights to gun rights to everything else and in between. People are not talking with each other; they're talking past each other. There seems to be almost zero communication in any of these issues. What give us some hope that we can at least find a common language.
I think a lot of it goes back to judgment that I'm right and you're wrong. And if we could keep an open mind, not that we're necessarily going to change our opinion, but we can learn from the other person. The whole purpose of the skill of dialogue is coming to understand another person's opinions. And so if we can, with again, genuine curiosity, not with the desire to judge as wrong once we hear them, but if we ask people who have a different opinion from us, gosh, that's really different than how I have seen this situation. Tell me more about what caused you to conclude what you're thinking, so that we take the approach of learning from the person. It isn't to try to change their opinion necessarily or to change our own opinion, but to understand each other and where we're coming from. Because I think so much of the divisiveness and the taking sides comes from one of us has to be right. And so we're working hard to win the argument, to take our stand and push and force the other person to admit they're wrong and we're right. And none of us likes to be proven wrong. So if we can bring a different mindset, a different attitude to a conversation and say, I want to learn from this person so that I can then share my perspective and what my opinion is based on. So we approach the conversation with a willingness to learn from each other and to understand. I think that makes a huge difference in how the conversation goes.
And I mean, I took the three words I've taken away so far: curiosity, judgment, and learning from the other person. I think those are three things I so far have massively taken away from this. Who are the types of clients that work best with you? To describe, is it just describe who should be contacting you to talk about the assessment tool or the development tools that you have?
Yeah. Mark, it's really organizations that are already committed to helping people develop their full potential and grow, whether it's a leader advancing in the organization or just an individual employee. That if the leadership is interested in helping people become better versions of themselves, they're our ideal clients, because they already believe in the importance of their people to the success of their business. And so being able to help them become even stronger. Our company is Grow Strong Leaders, and it's the idea of believing in growing people and giving attention to them. So somebody that's a command and control person or organization wouldn't be as good a fit, because they don't have that belief in people being able to think for themselves and being able to work autonomously. And so that's the kind of organization, a great place to work kind of organization. And could I add two other words that I think are so important in this world? And that is, circling back to your very first question to me, love and service. This idea of, how can I serve this person who's in front of me? One of my favorite questions ever from any book I've ever read, this came from The Prosperous Coach by Steve Chandler and Rich Lippin. And the question is, and you will love this question because of who you are, how can I serve this person so powerfully that they never forget our conversation for the rest of their life?
Wow, wow, that is very powerful.
So
Say that one
think
more.
of
Say that
how
one more
can
time.
how can I serve this person so powerfully that they never forget our conversation for the rest of their life? And the reason that jumped out of the page to me is because it caused me to think at an even deeper level about any interaction that I have with someone. Because when you think about it, if I'm talking about myself, that's not something they're going to remember the rest of their lives. What will they remember? How I listened to them, how they felt as a result of being in conversation with me. So bringing that curiosity, bringing that sense of love and service to them so they feel it in our interaction and they sense that I care about them through the questions that I ask, through the things that I remember that they've already said, and maybe I hold up to them something about themselves that they had not seen before or appreciated before. And they'll remember that because it's about them and it's about helping them be better. So whether it's a prospective client, an employee, or anyone in your life, if you can come to the conversation with that sense of purpose, it makes a huge difference in who you are being in that conversation.
Um, a last question I would just have is what's next? Do you guys have another 32 years in you? What is the next what is the
You
next
know,
iteration?
it's funny, people ask me, because most of my siblings are retired, and I don't think about that because I have this deep purpose of helping to heal some of the pain that's in organizations, that's in families around not knowing how to communicate. So we have a big goal to have an impact on 1,000,000 people in the way that they interact with each other, so they transform their relationships at work and at home so that they don't have to have these uncomfortable avoidance situations or difficult conversations that they don't know how to handle because they don't know how to be in communication with someone else. And we want to have a real impact on.
Well, I want to thank you for spending time with me. Every time I talk to you, I feel like I got smarter. And but that's not the case with everybody. And but it certainly is the case with you. And I just thank you for coming into my life. I appreciate you, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what's next for Meredith Bell and everything else going on in your world. So thank you so much, Meredith.
Thank you, Mark, for having me.